Trauma to testimony encompasses the proclamation of the truth and narratives of believers who have endured trauma and shook up their pain and purposely walk daily in their victories, giving God their yes. We are standing and affirming Revelation 12:11 on this podcast. Listen, the surrender, the resurrection, overcoming trauma, the becoming better, the inner work you have to do, all heavy. Join me each week as we dissect the walk of faith we take as Christian women who have endured some of life's pain and struggles. We will dive into having the hard conversations to grow a deeper relationship with God. This right here is from my girls who have endured trauma but have a lot of Jesus. Welcome back to the Trauma to Testimony podcast, where we are healing, learning, and growing and loving Jesus through our healing journey. This is your healing bestie, Tony, and I am so happy to be here with you for the next installment of the Holiday Heal and Chill series. And today we have a special guest, Miss Jasmine CL Baker. Jasmine works primarily with Christian women in helping them to navigate grief and loss while helping them realize, rediscover, and recover their God-ordained purposes following loss. Hey, Jasmine.
Hi.
We are so excited to have you today, just to speak to us, about grief during the holiday season, because, it's something that I believe that we walk with throughout our lives, and the holidays just makes it all real sometimes.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait just to hear your take on the grief and loss journey. So tell us about yourself. Who was younger Jasmine?
Younger Jasmine. Wow. She was somebody who didn't really know who she was. She didn't see herself. She didn't really understand why she was different and didn't really fit in anywhere. So it caused her a lot of what's the word? I don't know if it's necessarily trauma or just pain. But younger her hated being different because, nobody likes being different. Nobody likes not feeling like you belong anywhere. So I spent my younger years, especially elementary school, really trying to just get in where I could fit in. Just kind of just changing who I was based on who I was around, until I was like, this is exhausting. I don't do this no more. So, and I still fully didn't grasp it yet. But that started me learning to be okay with who I was and trying to figure stuff out in terms of who I was, until I was in my 20s and I had joined a church, and I felt like the church that I was at, I couldn't fully be who I was because of the type of church that it was. So things that I liked, I kind of had to hide and suppress to, again, be in this space of feeling like I can't really express myself if I want to fit in, if I want to belong. And so it wasn't until after I left that church and I moved to Atlanta in 2019 that I really was like, okay, this is who I am. This is fully me. And everything I like. I love my tattoos. I love my piercings. I love my locks. I love all the stuff that traditional church tells you can't be or you can't look like. And when it was really like, God was like, this is why I made you, right? Like, I love you. I accept you. I created you to be this person. That was finally like, okay, it's okay to be me. So it's like, I'm just now 3 years into this, it's okay to be me phase. But it started off with that young Jasmine not really being comfortable with not looking like everybody else. That was a really long-winded answer. Sorry.
Well, I love that. I love that because the transparency of being in a healing journey where you're navigating it to where you're like, okay, I want to be myself. And I have to notice that, the younger me who probably was hurt, who probably went through some things, we are two different. The healing me and the younger me who went through some things are two different people. And now I have to separate from that person just to get to know me and be me again. And
Yes.
that's okay. And that's okay. And I love your story and how you said, just how you had to get out of the box kind of thinking when it came to your healing journey. So
Mhm.
I definitely love that. So how do we get to the grief and loss? Like, how do we get to grief and loss coaching throughout our journey or throughout your journey?
So college, well, I'll start back. In high school, my mom had gotten sick. She
Mhm.
got pneumonia, and the pneumonia kind of just spiraled into everything else. Like she would develop bronchitis, and the bronchitis developed into something else. We didn't know what it was. None of the doctors could tell her what it was, but it just made her really sick, and it affected her breathing to where she went from this perfectly healthy, active woman to needing to carry around oxygen to function. Like it was crazy. But her going in and out of hospitals, yeah, it's okay. I know I'm loud. You fine? I'm right here. Um, so to her going in and out of hospitals was normal. It was just it's because it was so long, it was just, that was life. But in college is really when I started experiencing grief. My first, but it wasn't even with death initially. It was with my major. I decided I wanted to be an elementary school teacher when I was in fourth grade. I wanted to teach third grade. So from the time I was in fourth grade until college, I was like, I'm gonna be a teacher. That's all I want to do.
Mhm.
But you get into college, just because you get accepted into the university does not mean you get accepted into your college. And I did not get accepted into the college. Well, I initially got accepted, but then they rescinded it because my GPA fell.
Okay.
So now I'm like, after 10 years of having this dream, I can't do it. So I'm like, again, who am I? What am I supposed to do? Type situation. So now I'm having to grieve this ideal of what I was gonna do when I got older, not knowing that I needed to grieve that, or not knowing that that was even a thing.
Mhm.
I'm like, I choose my major, get over it. I'm trying to figure out something else out. I think I'm okay.
Mhm.
Until 2012 comes when I'm supposed to graduate. No, not only am I not graduating, but I'm also seeing everybody that I started with in the college education graduating and starting their student teaching. And so that triggered me. Now, I didn't know that triggers were a thing. I didn't know that grief is something that you always have to constantly deal with. I'm just in the space where I thought I'm okay. And now this event is happening and it's putting me back in that place 4 years ago that I felt when I got that rejection letter. So 2012, I'm like, shoot, I'm having to deal with this all over again. That was in May. My granddad died in June. He was also had been sick for a while since I was in maybe fourth grade. So that was like a normal thing for him. But of course you get older, the older you get, your body just can't handle it. So he died in 2012. 4 months later, my mom died. And
Mhm.
all of this is going on. I'm 2.5 hours away from home. I didn't see either one of them before they died. So I'm having to deal with all of this away from my family while I'm in school, trying to survive at this point. And I'm just like, what the heck am I doing? I don't know how to process this. I don't know anything. The moment I knew that I needed to grieve was I started feeling sick. But I was like, maybe it's normal. I don't know. It's October. It's a lot going on. But I went to the health clinic on campus, and they ran all these tests and stuff. And this is the first time I'm telling this part of the story because I forgot about it until just now. She was like, "Well, all your tests come back. Are you stressed about anything?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not stressed." And I'm like, "Oh, well, my mom just died." And she was like, "Well, have you processed that? Have you grieved that?" And I'm like, "I'm supposed to do that?" I didn't know. And so it wasn't until I was in the doctor because me not dealing with my grief affected my physical health. Like I was physically sick because I wasn't processing my grief. And she was like, you have to deal with this. And so that's when I started trying to figure out what grief was, what it looked like for me, how I could figure it out while still, trying to be in school. And so and it's not like I got it overnight. It was literally a 3-year process to where somebody was looking, my best friend looked at me and she was like, "You're not dealing with this. You're not grieving. I understand that your mom died. I understand that you have a lot going on, but it's to the point of where nobody likes being around you. You are a mean person now because you're not processing it. You have to deal with it." And so at that point, I was like, okay, God, all right. let's talk. Because honestly, before that, for 3 years, I really didn't talk to him. I was still serving. I was still active. I was over campus ministry. I was in the praise team. I was over children's church. I was in the choir. I was doing everything, still showing up. But I was mad at God because I'm like, you could have helped my mama. You could have helped my daddy. You could have helped me. You could have, because you're God. So since you didn't, I want to talk to you. So when I finally was like, okay, let's have a conversation, he was like, because I'm a gentleman, I was not going to force myself on you. Oof. But you didn't, right? You did not invite me into your grief, so I couldn't be God over your grief. Oof. Right? You didn't invite me into your hurt, so I could not be God over your hurt. All the things that the scripture says I'm supposed to be, your Prince of Peace, your comforter, all that, I could not be any of that because you didn't allow me to. You didn't invite me into your situation. So I just kind of had to sit here watching you helpless because I wasn't going to force that on you until you were ready. So I was like, all right.
Jasmine, you just really said something so powerful. Have to pause because God is just so faithful. Even when we are going on about our ways, we're trying to fix everything. We're like, okay, I'll just work it away. I'll just read it away. I'll just, I'm gonna be real. I'll just pray it away, but we ain't really praying. And we're not waging war on things. So the most powerful thing, and you just brought this up in just your testimony, is that the most powerful thing we can do is really cast our burdens on God, cast our cares. And because God wants that, God wants our heart. God wants to know, how can I come in your heart and take it all over? Like, how can I really take this situation that's holding you down over? And it's like, sometimes we learn to go with emotions. Like healing, we don't really get to the core of healing until we can be real and honest with ourselves about what is going on. And that is so powerful that you were able to say, okay, after, taking in the collection of friends and taking in the collection of going to the doctor and knowing that something's not right. Okay, I keep getting this reoccurrence, and God is so faithful that God will keep sending people, sending situations, sending things to us. And it's like we have to slow down to really be like, okay, something is not right. And I love that, just that moment. And one thing you mentioned as well is it took 3 years. Meaning that the healing is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. The grieving is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. And when we allow ourselves to be in that space of healing, we allow ourselves to feel all the feels, that's when we actually access who we truly are and who God says we are, because we take that time. And I just love that you are just using your story as really a mantle to praise God and worship God and help other women unlock their grief and journey, because it's needed. And I just would love for you to give, just on your heart right now, just a message to the woman who is probably in that place where she's had the messages, the signs, and the wonders come to her about grieving, but she isn't sure what to do. What would you tell her?
I would tell her to give herself grace. Nobody knows how to deal with grief until you have to deal with grief.
Yeah.
And even when you have to deal with it, you still don't know what you're doing. But some grief makes you feel like you have to know what you're doing. Like, maybe I just have to keep going. Maybe I have to keep working. Maybe I have to do something. And really, sometimes you don't have to do anything. But in the not doing anything, you have to give yourself the grace and the space not to do anything so that you can figure it out.
I love that. I love that. Give yourself grace. Okay, so now when it comes to the holiday season, we are going around maybe some spaces, some environments, some people that trigger us, and maybe re-inviting some being reinvited into places where, you know, maybe we went to a grandmother's home, or maybe we went to a place where, you know, we don't have that person that we love so very much there during the holidays. How do we best navigate grief and loss during the holidays when we're missing someone physically being there?
So the first thing I would say is plan for how you're going to spend the holidays ahead of time.
Okay.
So plan on where you're going to go, what that's going to look like, or if you all are still all meeting, you need a plan for who's making what. Because if the person who always make the dressing is the person who's no longer there, y'all don't want to be on Christmas Day looking like who making the dressing. And then not only do y'all not have dressing, now y'all are all sitting there sad because now you're reminded that that person is no longer there. So plan on how you're gonna spend it. Like, or if you're a single person, figure out what your game plan is ahead of time. Where you're gonna go, who you're gonna spend it with, do all that as much as you can beforehand, so you're not having to have the stress of it the day of. That's what you don't want to stress yourself out unnecessarily on the day of. So the first thing is make a plan. Second thing is make you or establish your boundaries for when you're gonna be wherever you are.
Yeah, that's good.
So wherever you're going, you know what your emotional capacity is. Even if it's the day even if you don't know till the day you wake up, you know on Christmas Day what your emotional capacity is. So if you say, I'm just not in a good space, I can only handle this for an hour. You saying yourself, I'm only gonna be there for an hour and then I'm leaving. And then when that hour is up, or even if you say an hour, but you can only handle 30 minutes, get up and leave.
Okay.
If it's I'm gonna stay, but I'm gonna take some moments to pull away by myself, I'm gonna pull away by myself. If y'all need a store runner today, somebody go get ice, I will go do all the errands because that gives me a minute by myself to reconnect with myself before I re-engage with other people. If you're married and maybe you're going to your in-laws house because your family is whatever it is with your family, communicate with your spouse or your partner what your boundaries are. Hey babe, I can't handle that all day. I know it's your family, but you can say if you want to, but I might have to leave. Something like that. But figure out what your boundaries are beforehand, stick to them, and only explain them to necessary people. So in the instance of if you're a spouse or if you're married, of course you have to excuse me, you have to explain your boundaries to your spouse, of course. But outside of that, your sister, your mama, your auntie, them, you don't nobody no explanation. Why you leaving already? I'll see y'all tomorrow, or I'll see y'all when I see y'all. I'm about to leave. If you're not going at all, why you not coming? I am not coming this year. I still love y'all. I'll see you when I see you. You do not owe anybody an explanation. Your mental health and your peace is not negotiable. And you don't owe anybody an explanation for taking care of yourself. Because what I had to learn was at the end of the day, nobody is there to take care of me except for me. Ooh. And if I'm spending all of my energy concerned about how my decisions are going to affect you, when I come home at night by myself and I've done myself so much to the point of where I'm crying, you're not there to comfort me because I'm shattered because I poured out too much. I'm there by myself. So since I'm there by myself, I'm going to take care of myself, regardless of how you think or what you think I should be doing. And sometimes family is the ones who don't understand or who give us the most grief about our decisions when really they should be the ones embracing it, but that's just not always the case.
Yeah.
So to understand your family and your situation, and if you can't explain it or if you don't want to explain it, don't. And then the last one is communicate your needs to those people around you. Sometimes we get upset because people don't show up for us, but we don't even give them the opportunity to show up because we don't tell them what we need.
Ooh.
So if I just need you, I'm gonna stick it out with you. I'm gonna be with you all day today. But if you see me by myself, don't leave me by myself. I might need you to come check on me.
Oh, yes.
And say that. But don't sit there and be like, he didn't even come see if I was okay. Did you tell him that you need him to come check on you?
Say
right? Like people don't know how we handle it. So if we don't even know how we're handling it, how do we expect other people to know how we're handling it? That's an unfair expectation. So we have to communicate our needs to people so we give them the opportunity to come and be there for us.
Yes, I love it. Now these are lifelong lessons. I'm sitting here like, yes, because that's it with healing. You start to notice that, okay, I have to be here for me. Like I have to know how I feel first so that I can express that out. If it means that I need to communicate it further, if it means that I need to, like you said, actively plan how I am going to spend the holidays, how I am going to be in this space. Like I need to plan for my healing. And I think that is so important in those boundaries. Trust me, boundaries are so important, especially when you're healing. Now, and when I think about the boundaries, and I wanted to ask this question. So, when we're setting boundaries for ourselves during the holidays, and we're in this place of knowing that we want, oh, this is so good. Thank you, Lord. Grieving the hopes that we may have had for the year, grieving the goals that we may have had, grieving the relationship status we may have wanted, just those life goals, those life dreams and desires, and knowing that we're probably going around some uncomfortable conversations that are going to be brought up. How do we navigate that type of grief?
I'm glad you brought that up because I had it in my head to mention that and I forgot. So this is great. Boundaries in those situations are statements like, I understand that you're interested in that, but I'm not going to be talking about that.
Oh, yes.
Or changing the subject, or read. It's really just making a statement like, I'm not discussing that. However you want to phrase it, I'm not discussing that. I thought you was dating so-and-so. Where he at? Not discussing that.
Oh,
how's school going? Not discussing that.
I love that.
Did you gain weight? Not discussing that.
Not doing it.
Doing it.
I love that though. And I think sometimes it's hard to say that. And I guess you have to get in a place in healing where you just start to advocate for yourself. That's what I hear. I hear that advocacy, like self-advocating for what I need in my healing. Like, no, I probably can't cross that boundary because for me to make it out here in a right mind, in a sound mind, I'm gonna have to make sure that I take care of me, because what you mentioned earlier too was you're the person who has to go back home with yourself. Like, faking it for these family events, for these friend events, for these festivities, but you still feeling it inside. Rather than just expressing it and saying, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm gonna have to cut you off there. Like, I'm gonna have to stop that because I can't take that. But I really do love that, because when I think about, just grief and us coming to the end of the year, the holidays, wrap up the year. So we get around all of these different things that it's like a season of pressure. And you're faced with it, but knowing that, okay, I can set that boundary and I can live there and I can stay there, and that's okay. So I really love that you said that about boundaries, because it is so needed, especially because we're navigating our own healing still. Even though, we're around and it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, it's not always for everyone.
Yep. And adding on to what you just said about this being like a season of pressure, especially with us church people, we love to do all these cliches about, before the year is over, and then when January comes, like, this is some magical recipe that everything is going to be great, and you go from December 31st, January 1st, and everything is still the same. God is not bound to our calendar.
You better say it.
First is not a hard stop for him. So if we're in the situation and December 31st comes and it's not over, that doesn't mean anything. It's just another day.
Yes.
And we don't have so much pressure on, oh my gosh, the year is ending. Because God is not like the year is ending, let me hurry up. And he's not concerned about time the way we are concerned about time. So when we give ourselves, again, the grace to realize that just because it's not happening by the end of 2022, and 2022 wasn't my year, because church people give all these cliches that leave people broken and hurt even more. When we don't subscribe to that, it frees us up to not feel as pressured just because the year is ending, when we understand that God can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Our January 1st in our life can be in March. That could be the start of something new for us. It don't have to be January 1st just because it's January 1st. A new start just because a new year starts. But we have to understand that God is not bound by a calendar, to understand that I don't have to feel pressured just because the year is about to end.
Ooh, that is so powerful. That is very powerful. Okay. Whew. And we can just sit there, like, really sit there, because what you just said was so powerful. Like, we don't have to be on anybody's time schedule. Like, we can literally just dwell with God and dwell in God, and knowing that God is going to work things out for us, even in our healing journeys. Like, we have to know that, like, to be still and know that God is God. There's parts that there's being still, and that means your spirit is still. Like, a lot of people think, okay, if I'm being still, I'm just sitting. But if you're still, your spirit is actively resting and is grounded in God. And then knowing that I'm God, that's that trust, that's that faith. A lot of the things that are shaken when we go through trauma, and when we go through pain, when we experience grief and loss, those things are shaken for us. So knowing that, okay, I'm gonna have to have a stillness in life, knowing that even if it hit January 3rd and I still don't got it, I still don't have what I'm supposed to have. I don't have my goals. Just know that God has the master plan for us, in our healing journeys, in our walk, in grief and loss, in just our lives. And if we would dwell more, we wouldn't probably stress more. We wouldn't be worried more.
Yep.
Definitely wouldn't be there. Okay. So, do you think we can obtain true healing from grief and loss, and why and how?
I do. But it starts with a mindset shift. True healing is when you really come to a place of understanding about where you are.
Yeah.
And so when you tie that into grief and loss never ends. It's literally something, depending on the situation, it never ends. So if it's a loss of a person, it never ends. If it's a job ending, that potentially could, you could potentially grieve that for a certain amount of time and it'd be okay and it's over. But if it's somebody, if the loss is so significant that it severely impacts your life, most likely you're going to be grieving that until you die. So when you understand that grief is an ongoing journey, you start to heal within the ramifications of, I'm going to always be dealing with this, instead of I'm waiting for it to end. Because if you keep waiting for it to end, you're never going to heal, because it's going to keep slapping you in the face. But once you realize that, okay, I'm going to be processing this, I'm going to be grieving this, I'm going to be facing this until I die, and you sit in that space and you learn what that space looks like, that's when you truly can heal within the space of grief.
I love that. Whew. Okay. So, what does healing look like for Jasmine in this season?
In this season, it looks like advocating for myself no matter what. People in my life are used to me being a people pleaser at the expense of myself. So when I started to do what I needed to do for me and advocate for myself, it caused a lot of friction in a lot of my relationships. Some of them withstood it and some of them didn't. And either way, I was okay. Because at the end of the day, I was fine with me because I knew I was being true to myself. So me speaking up for myself is problematic for you, I'm not upset. I just understand that this season is over for us. For instance, I had a really big situation happen between myself and members of my family, and it caused me to remove myself from being around them without any explanation. I just left and blocked their numbers, and I didn't talk to them for months. With one particular family member, it was almost a year.
Okay.
When I finally did speak to them, they wanted to know why I cut communication like that. And I said, well, I can understand from your point of view how that was probably hurtful. I apologize that you were hurt. I do not apologize for how I did it, because I did it in a way that I needed to for myself. And that's how I needed to do it for me. That's how I needed to do it to process it. I'm not apologizing for that. And you can either take that, you can take with that what you want to do with it, but I'm not apologizing for it. And if the situation would happen again, I would do it the exact same way, because that's what I needed to do for me. Yeah. One person was upset, eventually they got over it. The other person was like, well, okay. So my healing in this season is Jasmine and my family, my immediate family, my family that I created, not the one that I was born into.
Say that.
Okay, because there's a difference.
Yeah.
Me and my family comes first.
I love it.
My household comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And if whatever is going on outside of this address starts to affect this address, then you got to go. Period.
Yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of the times in our healing journey, we have hard tasks that we have to do so that we can be happy. We can be in a sane mind. We can be in a place where we don't have to worry about just the heaviness of our journey. Like, we don't have to worry about the external when we start to worry about the internal.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we don't focus on the internal because we're focused on other people. We're focused on the people pleasing. We're focused on how somebody is going to feel about it, how they're going to feel about how we say something, how we deciding to heal, how we're deciding to be. And the thing is, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about other people when we're actually on a journey for ourselves. Our next thing on the podcast is called This or That Healing Edition. So we get to just answer in this season where you are with your healing journey, okay?
Okay.
All righty. So physical journal or audio diary?
Physical journal.
Okay. Are we writing about it or are we talking it out once we have been triggered?
It depends. Can I say it depends?
Yeah, it depends.
It depends.
Okay. Let us know a little bit more about that. Why it depends.
It depends on what the trigger is. If it's
okay,
I can write about some things I need to physically talk through it and bring myself down.
Okay, I get that. I totally get that. Okay. Bible verse or affirmation queen?
It depends on the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take it. Prayer or meditation?
I like both.
It make you think. You can say both of them. That's fine.
Both.
Setting healthy boundaries or instantly cutting ties?
My initial reaction is to instantly cut ties, but I'm working on setting healthy boundaries because I don't like confrontation. So typically to avoid confrontation, I'll just cut you off.
Ooh, okay.
You know, so to learn how to express myself more, I'm working on this what your boundary is. But then if you cross it, then I'm gonna cut you off and then I'm done.
Okay, I'm loving it. I like the different things that you're putting in place. Peace or joy? What do we want more of?
I think peace.
Okay. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Are we doing a prayer walk or are we doing a prayer journal?
Journal.
Okay. Devotional or Bible study?
I think a Bible study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Therapist or life coach?
Okay, that's hard because they both have their places.
Okay.
But I think in this specific season, I need a therapist.
Ooh, okay. Are we worshiping God or are we a prayer warrior in this season?
Worship.
Okay.
You've been so good.
So it has been so good to have you, Jasmine. I want you to let my audience know how they connect with you further after this podcast episode.
So, excuse my baby. You can find me on social media as Jasmine CL Baker on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And on Facebook, I'm Jasmine. Well, I guess it's still Jasmine CL Baker on Facebook too. Yep. Okay, so Jasmine CL Baker everywhere. You can find me. All of my links are in my Instagram bio. So if you're trying to find my book, that's on Amazon, you can find it there. My podcast link is there. Ways to work with me is there. Or you can just shoot me a DM if you have questions about how you can work with me, about coaching and stuff like that. Just shoot me a DM. I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So all of those links will be in the show notes. And I am just so blessed to have this opportunity today to talk about grief and loss and how we are healing during the holiday season. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Now, one last thing is a phrase. My name is blank and my healing journey is blank.
Okay. My name is Jasmine, and my healing journey is personal.
Oh, I love that. Oh, powerful. All right. Well, that is all that we have for this week. And I will see you next week.